Right now, Nigeria is going through one of its biggest tax overhauls in decades, and you've probably heard a lot of noise about it. The government says this isn't just about raising money, it's about fixing a broken system and maybe even restoring some trust. But with so much misinformation flying around, it's tough to know what's real. So in this explainer, we're going to break down what's really changing. And this is the million naira question, isn't it? For so many Nigerians, taxes just feel confusing, maybe a little unfair, and totally disconnected from the services they're supposed to pay for. So are these new laws a genuine economic reset? Or are we just looking at the same old problems with a new coat of paint? Well, here's the official line from Zak Adeji, the guy in charge of Nigeria's revenue service. He's framing this as a complete shift in philosophy. The goal, he says, isn't to squeeze people harder, but to build a system that's actually fair. So let's dig in and see what that actually looks like on the ground.
So why all this change and why now? Well, to put it simply, by 2023, Nigeria's finances were really at a tipping point. Revenue was weak, debt was piling up, and something had to give.
And wow, this chart right here, it really shows you the stark reality of the situation. Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio, which is basically the slice of our whole economic pie that goes to taxes, was just 8%. Now look at that next to the African average of 15%, and forget about the global benchmark of 45%. That is a massive, massive gap.
So what does that gap actually mean for people? Well, think about it like this. For every 100 Nigerians, only about 8 to 10 were actually part of the tax system. That means the other 90 or so weren't contributing, which put an absolutely crushing burden on that tiny minority. This really breaks down the problem perfectly. You see the old system on the left, a tiny group of people paying, which led to high rates, a confusing mess of different taxes, and even harassment. The new system is trying to completely flip that script, get more people to pay a little, making the whole thing fairer, simpler, and, this is the key, built on trust.
And that brings us to the core philosophy that President Tinubu's administration is pushing with these reforms. It's a really simple but powerful idea. You tax prosperity, not poverty.
So you'll hear officials talking about this as more than just a revenue drive. They're calling it an economic reset. The whole point is to fundamentally rewire how taxes work, make it simpler, bring more people into the net fairly, and most importantly, start to repair that broken trust. Okay, that's the big picture theory. But what does all of this actually mean for your household, for your business, for your wallet? Let's get into the stuff that really matters for everyday Nigerians. Let's start with this number because it is a big deal. Under the new law, if you earn 800,000 naira a year or less, you are now completely 100% exempt from paying personal income tax. This is direct, targeted relief for the lowest income earners in the country. And the relief doesn't stop there. Let's talk about value-added tax, or VAT. Just look at this list of things that are now exempt. Basic foods, medical products, school books, rent, and even school fees. I mean, these are the absolute core expenses that make up a huge chunk of any family's budget. So next time you hear a school proprietor saying they have to raise fees because of some new tax, you can tell them, no wahala, because that's just not the case anymore. School fees are now specifically exempt from VAT. And it's not just about individuals. Small businesses are getting a huge boost. The turnover threshold for being exempt from companies' income tax, that's the tax on a business's profit, has been quadrupled. It's gone from 25 million all the way up to 100 million naira. This is a game changer for small and medium-sized enterprises. So who are we talking about here? It's the vulcanizer fixing tires on your street corner. It's the tailor in your neighborhood. It's the woman selling food by the roadside. You know, these small, everyday businesses that are the real backbone of the economy. Under this new law, they are now tax exempt. The focus is shifting to taxing actual profit, not just investment or survival. Of course, passing new laws is one thing. But the biggest mountain to climb here is rebuilding that broken trust between citizens and the government. And these reforms are trying to tackle that head-on by creating what's being called a new social contract. And let's be honest, this is the question that cuts right to the heart of the whole thing. With such a deep history of mistrust, that trust deficit, people are rightly asking, okay, even if I pay my fair share, how do I know the government is going to do its part? What's actually different this time? Well, one of the key answers is this new thing called a tax ombuds office. Think of it like an independent referee. If you have a complaint about a tax, or you feel like you're being treated unfairly, you now have a neutral body you can go to for a fair hearing. And it's not the tax agency itself. That's a huge step. So here's how this new social contract is supposed to work, in theory. It's a cycle, right? Step 1, citizens pay their fair share. Step 2, the government takes that money and provides essential services. We're talking roads, water, security. And then Step 3, because you've paid your tax, you are empowered to demand accountability and hold the government's feet to the fire. Now, these reforms aren't just about fixing things at home. They're also designed to send a massive signal to the rest of the world that, hey, Nigeria is open for business and ready to compete.
Just take a look at this comparison. For decades, Nigeria's corporate income tax rate was stuck at 30%. Now it's down to 25%. That single change makes Nigeria more attractive for business than a regional competitor like Ghana, which sits at 28%. And believe me, for an international investor, that 3% difference is a powerful, powerful incentive.
So the laws are on the books. We've seen real relief for low-income earners and for small businesses. The system is being simplified to attract new investment. But the ultimate question, the big one, still hangs in the air. Will all these changes be enough to finally rebuild that deep-seated mistrust and create an economy that truly works for everyone? That's the challenge ahead, and the story is really just beginning.